The Intermediate Life Cycle Courses. Continual Service Improvement. Lesson 10. Return on Investment and the Business Case. Welcome to Lesson 10. This lesson looks at how we justify and show the financial benefits of improvements. We'll be studying return on investment and the business case. The information in this lesson relates to the syllabus section CSI 04. Remember, it's strongly recommended that you carry out further reading in the Continual Service Improvement Core volume as part of your exam preparation. You can use the syllabus document to identify the appropriate areas for self-study. Let's start this lesson by looking at return on investment. You're probably already familiar with this concept, but let's revisit the official definition. Return on investment is defined as a measurement of the expected benefit of an investment. In the simplest sense, it is the net profit of an investment divided by the net worth of the assets invested. In normal day-to-day living, we like to think when we buy something it is a sound investment. We want value for the money we have spent. For example, when buying a new television, we will only agree to buy when we are happy that we have got the best specification for the money and have been reassured that our new product will not be superseded by a better, more advanced model in the near future. When looking at committing expenditure against IT services, we are doing the same type of exercise, albeit perhaps more formally. We want to ensure we have got a good return on our investment. Few organizations are willing to underwrite the cost and effort associated with process improvement without some quantification of costs and some evidence of benefits and outcomes. Unfortunately, moving from an informal gut feeling about an investment to a more formal analysis presents us with certain challenges. It's time for a short exercise. This exercise will test your understanding and knowledge of challenges that apply to analysis of return on investment. Plan to spend 20 minutes on this exercise, and don't forget to check your study guide for a suggested solution. Here's the question. List the potential barriers that will stop or slow down an organization undertaking a return on investment analysis. Try and think of at least 10 challenges or barriers. For example, limited experience in identifying measurable benefits may slow us down. So, how do we go about creating a return on investment analysis or report? There will be many factors that need to be considered. Return on investment can be seen as a balance. Cost is on one side and benefits are on the other. We need to be able to assess if benefits will outweigh costs. Investment costs are the money an organization pays to improve services and service management processes, such as resource costs, tool costs, and consulting costs. It may be easy to come up with these costs, as they are tangible. However, we must ensure we include internal resource when costing projects. Many organizations assume staff will be able to carry out continual service improvement activities on top of their normal role and don't allocate any cost to their time. As a result, the return on investment is not a true reflection of the balance, as the costs are not fully understood. On the other side of the balance is what an organization can gain in return for the outlay. These returns are often more intangible and harder to define. There are a number of areas we need to be able to quantify in order to define the benefits we hope to realize, We're going to look at them over the next few screens. In order to define the benefits that will result from our investment, we need to be able to answer these questions. What is the cost of downtime? This will include lost productivity of customers and the loss of revenue. What is the cost of doing rework? If we have to do it again, there is a cost associated. What is the cost of doing redundant work? How many failed changes, for example, need to be redone? And what is the cost of non-value-added projects? Are projects constantly reviewed and stopped if they no longer add value? Further areas we need to be able to assess as part of benefits calculation include: what is the cost of late delivery of a service or application? Fines or reputation damage could be included here. What is the cost of escalating incidents to second and third level support groups instead of resolving incidents at the first level? The further the escalation, the greater the cost. And what is the fully allocated hourly cost for different employee levels? When we consider lost productivity, we are talking about the cost of not being able to complete a business transaction, or the true cost of downtime. Availability is a good measure to help understand the cost of lost productivity, but even this is not straightforward. There are different approaches to measuring and reporting on availability. You can see some examples of how availability is measured on screen here. Impact by minutes lost. This is a calculation on the duration of downtime multiplied by the number of customers impacted. The true cost of downtime, including measures that have been agreed with the business. Or, impact by business transaction. This calculation is based on the number of business transactions that could not be processed during the downtime. Can you put a cost on downtime for your organization? How is downtime defined? Availability techniques such as component failure impact analysis can be used to help calculate impact by lost minutes or downtime of a component. Component failure impact analysis shows quickly and simply who will be affected when a component fails. This can then be used to roughly calculate loss of productivity. Variables will need to be considered though. For example, all users will not be in the office as some will be on holiday or sick, and so on. Start with a simple calculation, and then complexity can be built in. A simple example of a component failure impact analysis calculation is shown here. An application fails for 15 minutes. 1,000 users use the application. The calculation is 1,000 multiplied by 15, which equals 15,000 lost minutes. 15,000 divided by 60 gives a total of 250 lost hours. If our productivity is approximately $45 per hour, this downtime cost us $11,250. We can then balance the cost of improvement against the cost of downtime. The ability to define improvement opportunities that will create a return on investment for the business is essential. For example, if your business is providing online retail services, any downtime will cause loss of revenue. That is why it is so important to understand the cost of downtime and balance it against investments. Defining the cost of downtime is an exercise that IT and the business should conduct together. It is important to have agreement on what the financial impact is to the business when a service is not available. This calculation of downtime may be easier in some businesses than others. One simple solution is to take the annual cost of a service that the business pays for and divide it by the number of service hours for the year. This will provide a monetary cost the business is paying for each hour of service. We've included a table in the study guide for this lesson that shows some more information about downtime costs of different services. Once improvement opportunities have been identified, we may need to present them as part of a business case. So, we're going to study how to develop an effective business case. Remember, a business case is justification for a significant item of expenditure. It includes information about costs, benefits, options, issues, risks, and possible problems. The aim of a business case is to articulate the reason for undertaking a service or process improvement initiative. It will be supported by data and evidence relating to the costs and expected benefits of undertaking process improvement. When expressing cost, we need to remember the points here. Process redesign activities are often more complex and therefore more costly than initially expected. Organizational change impact is often underestimated. This may lead to unexpected costs such as training or team-building sessions. And a changed process usually requires changed competencies and tools, adding further to the expense. Although we have focused on return on investment so far in this lesson, the business case should look at another area, value on investment. This is defined as a measurement of the expected benefit of an investment. Value on investment also considers both financial and intangible benefits. So, value on investment will include return on investment, but also the softer benefits. Return on investment alone does not capture the real value of service improvement. If an organization focused solely on this element, the potential benefit achievable would not be fully understood or communicated. This could in turn result in initiatives not being approved, or a review of the initiative revealing apparent failure when it was actually successful. Most, if not all, business and IT executives will expect a return on their investment. However, it is important to recognize that to achieve a return on investment against a continual service improvement initiative will depend on the organization's customer base, the size of IT, and the maturity of the ITIL process implemented. Benefits may cross organizational boundaries, so that they can only be captured by working with customers, users, and IT process owners. For example, implementing a knowledge base may lead to increased sales. This might not be immediately apparent because the improvement is due to staff using the knowledge base to resolve their own incidents and not waiting for the service desk to help them. The focus should be on working with stakeholders to develop business and IT-specific indicators that link business value measures to IT's contributions. ITIL process improvement needs to add value to the organization. But how do we demonstrate this? Examples of business value measures include time to market, customer retention, inventory carrying cost, market share. IT's contribution to these business value measures could be in areas such as gaining agility, managing knowledge, enhancing knowledge, reducing costs, and reducing risk. IT should begin by defining the types of business value that each improvement will contribute to. Well-conceived investments deliver results. This can lead to cost savings in the long term. It is very important that we choose the right initiatives to invest in, and the business case can help our management teams to make sensible, balanced decisions. When presenting a business case for a process improvement project, it is important to help executives understand the business value of the ITIL process framework. It should not overemphasize technology and tools. We should instead emphasize the business changes that will be delivered. It is really important to address how people and processes will change, as well as technology. This is done by documenting and presenting the before and after state of the change, or in other words, as is to the to-be state. We have come across the as-is stage already in this course. It can also be defined as a baseline. Understanding our start point is essential for an effective business case. If we report that customer satisfaction is currently 80%, when it's actually much lower, any results that we report will look less impressive. When we talk of measurement, we should focus on developing cause and effect metrics to link benefits to the measurements selected, along with the impact on other areas of the enterprise. The metrics should be monitored before, during, and after ITIL implementation to determine how the projected value and benefits are being delivered. When considering the business case, consideration should be given to situations where value will be lost by not undertaking process improvement activities. This is where failure to take action will severely impact the business and IT. The value of process improvement may be value retained, not value added. For example, take the implementation of improvements to a change management process. Failed changes may be costing us thousands of dollars in fines and penalties. Implementing improvements will avoid these costs, rather than delivering any additional income. When developing our business case, we need to take particular care in 3 areas. Definition of success criteria, how success will be measured, and when success will be measured. Improvements can take time to deliver, so we want to make sure the business doesn't expect them tomorrow. It's time for a short exercise. This exercise will test your understanding of business cases in support of continual service improvement activities. Plan to spend 20 minutes on this exercise, and don't forget to check your study guide for a suggested solution. Here's the question. List the contents that you would expect to see in a business case to justify a continual service improvement initiative. Include information to help business executives, the financial director, and IT reach a decision about whether the improvement is justified. Why not pause the video and complete this exercise now, as some of the answers are coming up. Essentially, business cases address the question, what's in it for me? When selling a change with a business case, you need to look at the stakeholders and determine the benefits to them individually, rather than focusing on generic benefits. This means stakeholders can relate to the change and see how it applies to them. Let's look at some examples of what's in it for me. Let's start with business executives. They'll want to know, what are the benefits of ITIL process improvements? How does it impact my business? Will it be revenue increase, cost reduction, value on investment? IT will want to know, how do ITIL benefits translate to business benefits? You'll need to find some compelling reasons why the organization should spend so much time and money. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, we need to address what's in it for me for our Chief Financial Officer or the relevant budget holder. They'll be interested in, what is the return on investment? How quickly will it be realized? Many organizations have cutoff points for return on investment. If it won't be delivered in 3 years, for example, it won't be approved. An effective business case will be one that links to current business concerns. If the business is looking to save money, that's what we emphasize. We need to include the cost of staying as we are and estimate the savings or increased revenue that could be achieved. We are looking at building business cases for process improvement activities. We have perhaps made the assumption to date that when constructing our business case, measurements are in place. Good, sound data will ideally be available to support business case production. But what about building a business case in a data-poor environment? We're going to study this next. Many organizations find themselves in a situation where the lack of a process means that there is no viable data or evidence to quantify expected benefits. This can be a catch-22 situation. We need the data to justify the process, but we need the process to produce the data. One approach to a data-poor environment is to establish basic measurement capabilities as a means of gathering consistent data. This may be as simple as ensuring that all IT staff record data in a consistent fashion, or start measuring activities or outcomes that are not currently captured. After an agreed period of data capture, some evidence will exist to support, or perhaps not support, a process improvement initiative. Another way to approach this situation is to undertake a process maturity assessment of current processes. This will identify which processes are least ITIL compliant or aligned. This will identify the absence of processes or supporting data. It won't, however, provide the data to justify implementing the process. If we choose to establish new monitoring and measuring to support our business case, we need to be careful. New data will be limited and may not make sense initially. However, we can use it to take an initial baseline and build towards justifying our improvements. The last area we're going to address in this lesson is measuring the benefits achieved. The initial identification of benefits is an estimate of those likely to be realized by the proposed process improvement initiative. Once an improvement has been implemented, we need to measure the benefits actually achieved. We need to answer the question, have we delivered what we said we're going to deliver? This can include looking at areas such as whether the planned improvements were realized, whether the benefits arising from the improvements were achieved, whether the target return on investment was achieved, whether the intended value was actually achieved, measured as value on investment. We also need to investigate and document whether the outcomes of our implementation led to further process improvement actions being instigated or reevaluated, and whether enough time has passed before measuring the benefits. The timing of when we measure benefits needs to be carefully considered. We don't want to assess too early and get misleading results. Some benefits will not be immediately apparent. For example, the benefits from a new process can take months or even years to achieve. It is likely that benefits will continue to change over time, as both ongoing costs and ongoing benefits continue to move. Also, when assessing benefits realization, we need to think about data quality. Are you measuring in a different way to before the improvement initiative was implemented? Is the comparison valid? We may need to normalize data before we can get an accurate comparison. You've completed Lesson 10, Return on Investment and the Business Case. We've given some consideration in this lesson to the financial justification of improvements, as well as thinking about the softer benefits that might be delivered. Coming up in Lesson 11, we'll study service reporting, the relationship with service level management, and continual service improvement business questions.